You've been a union worker, a union employee in the past. So tell us more about your experience and how unions can help play a role in bringing more equity for workers, especially those who earn low wages in our state.
Yeah, that's a good question. Unions serve to aggregate and articulate the interests of workers. Uh, for example, we have a nephew, a niece and nephew. They had a child a few years ago, and his company did not allow for parental leave. So he went to talk to his human resource manager about, can the people get, some more parental leave? And they shut him down right away. Well, of course, he's one employee, walks into the office, he does whatever his specialty is in the organization, goes in to speak to the human resources manager, who is an expert in labor law, an expert in the terms and conditions of work. And he asked for something and they shut him down. So I said, well, how many other workers want, more parental leave in your workplace? And he works for a company that has 10,000 employees. He said, I don't know. I said, well, what does your union say? Well, they don't have a union. Okay. The thing is, if you have a union, he would have been able to go to his union. The union would know like how many of the workers wanted parental leave, right? Or expanded parental leave, or whatever the issue is that he wanted, and be able to go to management with their own experts in labor law and their own experts in negotiating, and begin talking to management about that. So they would, as I said, aggregate, bring together the interests of the workers, and then articulate them, present them to the company. Because he's a computer programmer. What does he know about labor law and negotiating and stuff? That's the role that a union plays and should play. Now, that being said, in the past, 50, 60 years ago, there were some corrupt unions in this country. They kind of gave unions a bad reputation, but that was 50 or 60 years ago. You don't hear about that anymore. I would also point out that every union official in this country is elected by the rank and file, by the members. You can't, there are no CEOs that are elected by their employees. And lastly, and I've said this when I've spoken to unions, and maybe they don't like it, but it's the truth. The unions today cannot look like the unions of yesterday. The workplace has changed. It has changed because technology has changed. It has changed after the pandemic, and people got used to working from home, and more people teleworking than before. And it has changed because the younger workers want different things. They want something different from the workplace. They do not enter into, go with a company planning to stay there for the rest of their lives and make a commitment to the company. They move around. They prefer not having to drive to work long distances. I can give you a couple of 3 examples of how the workers themselves are changing. One example is the trucking industry has a shortage of truckers. So they looked into it, and they found out that the reason there's a shortage of truckers is that the younger, even though truck drivers make over $100,000 in this country nowadays, the younger workers don't want to be on the road for 3 weeks at a time away from their family, living in a truck, living in, as nice as they are, in one of these tractor trailers. So they're restructuring that industry so that instead of truckers taking off and being on the road for 3 weeks at a time, they have shorter hauls, and so they can be home every night instead of long cross-country trucking, which requires a whole reorganization of the entire industry to meet the desires of the workers and the demands of the workers, which means that the truckers union has got to change the way they do business also. They can't think the way they used to think when they were representing workers who were on the road for 3 weeks at a time. Another example I'll give you is I met a guy who works for Marriott, local company, right? They've got their world headquarters here in Montgomery County, where Route 270 meets the Capitol Beltway. But they just built a new headquarters in downtown Bethesda. If you've been through downtown Bethesda, there's a lot of construction there, huge. It's like Little Manhattan now with the big high rises. And I said to him, what do you think about moving the headquarters? And he said, do you know why we did that? I said, why? He said, and this guy works in data analytics for Marriott. He said, well, Marriott went out and they hired bunch of consultants. And what they found out is that the workforce they need in the next 20 or 30 years, who are in their 20s or early 30s now, the younger workers, don't want to drive to an office park out in the suburbs. In fact, they don't want to work in an office park at all. They don't want to drive to work. They want to be able to either walk to work or take public transportation that they can walk to and then walk to work on both ends, getting to public transportation, getting to the office. So Marriott moved their world headquarters, and it was very expensive, to a brand new building right near the Bethesda metro station, just to adjust to the needs of younger workers who demand a different type of workplace than older workers did. Now, if unions want to organize those workers, the unions have to start thinking differently and start having to do business differently and start addressing different types of issues to satisfy the demands of new workers. And with technology and teleworking and all, Americans don't work in factories anymore. Americans sit home and work from their laptop 3 days a week, increasing numbers of them, which, unions have to get their head around that. So yeah, unions are important, and they play a very important role, I think, and a constructive role, but they have to change and they have to adapt along with American industry going into the future. And I think that, there's a role for the state government to help industry and help the workers adapt to a new economy where things are done differently than they were in the past.